Ha ha! Your boy, live from NBA All-Star Weekend. Does it get any better? I don't think so. The Stephen A. Smith Show's in the house. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you, as I love to do, at the very least 3 times a week over the digital airwaves of YouTube. We have now eclipsed 560,000 subscribers. Appreciate the love. Keep it coming, and I'm going to keep on coming, okay? We got a lot of stuff to get into. Micah Parsons, we're going to be talking to him a little bit later. Kenny Beecham, basketball analyst extraordinaire, we'll be talking to him later. The list goes on and on. Maybe this show, maybe a special show. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying. Pay attention to me when I'm talking to y'all, because we got a lot of stuff coming your way. First order of business, though, I got to get some news out of the way, okay? Klay Thompson. Got to get right into it. Klay Thompson, 35 points last night. That's not a big deal. The big deal is that he did it coming off the bench. He hadn't been benched in years, okay? In years. But he came off the bench last night because Steve Kerr obviously felt there was a need to do so. This kid Beecham is really, really balling for the Golden State Warriors. He's looking very, very impressive. Klay Thompson has not. Klay Thompson ranks dead last in the NBA in clutch shooting. A minimum of 35 attempts is the category. Clutch shooting, last 5 minutes, within 5 points of a game. That's what Klay Thompson is doing, shooting 27%. That's worse than the NBA, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the greatest, most prolific shooters we've ever seen in NBA history, having these kind of struggles shooting the basketball. So obviously, if you're Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors, you think change is the order of the day. And Beecham in the backcourt with Steph Curry is a direction they feel they need to go in, okay? The Warriors are now won 6 of their last 7, following a 141-37 victory over the Utah Jazz. Klay Thompson has 35 points. Draymond Green tripped in 33 points. Their defense has been exponentially better since Draymond Green has returned from suspension. They're locked in right now as the 10th seed in the Western Conference, which means they would be in the play-in tournament. So we got to take all of those things into consideration, see it for what it is, and say this about the Golden State Warriors. They are still alive, and as long as they're alive and breathing, they are a threat. If the question is about Klay Thompson, here's what I'm looking at. So many people speculated that the big problem for him was the fact that he couldn't reach a contractual accord, couldn't get the money that he wanted, the commitment that he wanted from the Golden State Warriors. So because of that, he was pouting, he was a bit sullied, he was a bit upset, et cetera, et cetera. That's what they said about him. My thing is that you can shoot or you can't. And this is one of the great shooters we've ever seen. So nobody wants to hear that. He certainly didn't look depressed last night coming off the bench, dropping 34. When your shot is falling, you're happy. When your shot's not falling, you're not happy. And he's had his struggles, rather, quite often this season. But to me, Klay Thompson would still be wanted by at least 27 other teams in the NBA. Shoot 41% from the field. I can name a bunch of guys that shoot worse or around that number. The dude is shooting 37% from three-point range. I know a number of people that would pray to have somebody that could shoot 37% from three-point range. Okay? So let's get that out the way right now, understanding that if you are Klay Thompson, you're in a position to really make some noise for yourself. And if you're the Golden State Warriors, you're also checking yourself as well, because what you want to see is how he's going to react to coming off the bench. You want to see, if you're Klay Thompson, how you're going to feel about coming off the bench. And if it is deduced that indeed it's something that could work beneficially for all parties concerned, then you may not have to leave Golden State this summer after all. Or you can view yourself as being an asset to somebody else who's going to give you more money than the Golden State Warriors are willing to give you. All of those things are up for grabs. All of those things are there for the taking. And I say it's really, really interesting to see what happens, okay? Remember, Thompson's a 4-time NBA champion, a 5-time All-Star. He snapped a streak of 727 games starting for the Warriors. We got to mention that, okay? But he didn't whine about it by Coach Steve Kerr. In fact, he sizzled, all right? Because what I just said, 13 and 22 shooting for the 35 points. Overall, it could have been a tough moment for this future Hall of Famer. Instead, he balled and surpassed the 15,000 point mark in his career in the process, by the way, something he would have done a while ago had he not had the Achilles injury and the ACL injury, not necessarily in that order. Let's move on to another subject that's percolating here at All-Star Weekend, and that is the story of the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks have now fallen to 3-7 under Doc Rivers as their new head coach, courtesy of a loss to the Memphis Grizzlies last night. Now, when you look at Doc Rivers, this is my buddy. I've known him for years, got a lot of love for him. But some of the things that I'm seeing right now, I'm not happy about. Yes, he got the job because Adrian Griffin, who was 30-13, didn't seem to know how to coach defense. Doc Rivers has come in there. Obviously, the mandate was defense. Well, here's the deal. The Milwaukee Bucks went from 19th in defensive efficiency to 10th. That's the good news. Here's the bad news. They went from number 2 in offensive efficiency to 24th. Giannis is shooting 6% less from the field once Doc Rivers has arrived than before he got there. Not to mention the fact that they're shooting worse from the field. They're shooting worse from three-point range. So now all of a sudden you're struggling offensively, which is not a good sign because Damian Lillard is there. I'd rather you suffer defensively because it makes perfect sense if you're struggling defensively because Damian Lillard ain't Drew Holiday. But offensively, Drew Holiday ain't Damian Lillard. And I don't want to see a team with Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo as his two superstars struggling so miserably on the offensive side of the ball. The Grizzlies were shorthanded, playing the second half of a back-to-back. Look at this right here. Who's Santi Aldama? I never heard of the man. But he had 7 points last night. Zaire Williams. I remember the Sixers drafted him years ago. Is that the same Zaire Williams? I don't even know. He had 27 points. Trey Jameson, 10 points. Jordan Goodwin, 11 points. Vince Williams Jr., 18. Well, who the hell are these people? There's no John Morant in there. There's no Desmond Bane up in there. All right, there's no Jaren Jackson up in there. Steven Adams, Brandon Clark. Who are these people? But somehow they're doing what they're doing. And then I'm seeing that I got to look twice because they got somebody dude coming off their bench in Lamar Stevens at 13 points. G.G. Jackson. Brother don't even have a first name. That's publicized. G.G. Jackson. And he's balling. Okay? And when I saw Lamar Stevens, I thought Lamar Jackson. I thought I was watching, I thought for some, it was a typo, it was a mistake. Because I was thinking Lamar and said, oh, what the hell is a Baltimore Raven doing on the screen? But that's what we're talking about here. That's what we have. And so if you look at it from that standpoint, and you're looking at the Milwaukee Bucks, Doc Rivers, what did he say after the game? You see the quote right here. Here it is. What did he say? We had some guys here. We had some guys in Cabo. Now, Doc Rivers has never been shy of calling out his team, his players when necessary. And nobody can definitively say he's wrong because some of them look like they were ready for vacation. Some of them look like they couldn't wait to get the hell away. When you're in a city like Milwaukee, you got to win. Because what else is there to do? I mean, it ain't L.A. It ain't New York. I mean, it's interesting places to go. I get it. Please don't. I'm not trying to poo-poo the place totally. But I'm just saying, you know. It's a great sports town. But if you ain't winning, what else is there to do? You know how I feel about cold-ass cities. So I'm just asking that question and making sure that we're paying attention to it, okay? There's a lot of stuff to get into to talk about because, again, I'm right here at NBA All-Star Weekend. There's a slam dunk contest coming up. There's a All-Star game coming up. There's a three-point shooting contest coming up. But before I get to any of that, I got to tell you what happened to me today. Because it's been a struggle. Struggle's real. Struggle's real. So, I was on a court last night because ESPN is airing a celebrity all-star basketball game tonight. Shannon Sharpe is coaching one team. He's got Micah Parsons as one of his stars, along with others. And then there's me coaching the other team. And I have C.J. Stroud, I have Meta World Peace, I have a few other surprises for you. Names you wouldn't know, but you're going to know about them tonight when they go out there and they bust their ass. I'm telling you that right now, okay? Because Club Shay Shay ain't winning this one. He ain't winning this one, all right? Having said all of that, there was a practice session that took place yesterday, and I got disgusted that Micah Parsons is going out there beating up on everybody. You know, so I was talking smack to him in the whole bit, and then ultimately it led to us getting on a basketball court in a shooting contest. Now, I didn't care whether I missed or made because what I wanted him to do is gain his confidence so he can shoot those shots tonight and he's going to be bricklaying. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. You see what I'm saying? What I didn't expect to happen to me was what happened to me. And that is, I bust my ass. I wasn't running. I wasn't jumping. I literally stepped and I slipped on something. It must have been sweat on the court or whatever. And both my feet went sliding in the air and I bust my ass and slid. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Contrary to popular belief, however, it did not happen the way this turncoat, this Benedict Arnold, tried to portray it about me on live national television this morning. Take a look.
And they had a practice. So he started messing around with Micah Parsons, of all people, one of the guys on his team, obviously a Dallas Cowboy. Micah crossed him over, and all I know is Stephen A's at the hospital right now getting x-rays. So I'll let him tell you the rest of the details when he gets here.
You see, that's what Molly does. That's what Molly Kiram does. She fabricates stories. She makes stuff up. She's always sensationalizing stuff, and it's always to make me look bad. I did not get crossed over by Micah Parsons. I didn't get crossed over by any damn body because I wasn't playing no defense. I wasn't in front of anybody. I wasn't competing. I was just shooting around, okay? But here's the problem, and this is the biggest confession that I have to make, and there's really no way to get around this, you know, to my nephew Josh, to my man Rashawn, to my man Galen, and my crew, Wes, and Izzo, and Griff, and the whole crew. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I ain't represent us properly. You know, I really am. Because what I did was a very, very stupid thing. Rashawn, stop laughing at me. It's not funny, okay? Let me tell y'all what happened. The sneakers that I was wearing while I was just shooting around yesterday, because I didn't expect to be shooting around, are the same sneakers that I wore on the mound at Yankee Stadium when I threw out the first pitch. If you remember, what I tried to explain to everybody was I stepped on a mound and I almost slipped. And I said, there's no way in hell I'm busting my ass on national television. So I can't let that happen. And I made a business decision to make sure that I threw the ball straight, praying it would get to the mound, but determined not to fall on my face or my backside. I should have known not to take those same sneakers within the vicinity of a basketball court. I didn't. Fool me once. Shame on you. But as George W. Bush, our former president, once said, fool me twice. You ain't gonna fool me again. That's what happened. That's the truth. Not what the hell Molly threw out there with her scandalous, lying, Benedict Arnold self. Betraying her boy. Betraying her boy. Anyway, up next, right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, it was ladies' night in college basketball. Not one, but two records fell last night. I got more on that. Plus, much more on NBA All-Star Weekend. The one and only Kenny Beecham, YouTube star, podcast star, basketball brilliant mind, coming up to discuss NBA All-Star Weekend. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. It's your boy live from Indianapolis. Back with more in a minute. Okay, everybody, you know what time it is. It's time for Stephen A's weekly sports picks. You see, I've teamed up with Prize Picks to bring you my favorite picks on every big game or sporting event. Prize Picks is a skill-based real money daily fantasy sports game where you select two or more players and predict if they will have more or less than their stat projections for the game. It's not only super exciting, but incredibly easy to play. It takes only 60 seconds to make your picks, y'all. Just 60 seconds. Pick the stats for Caitlin Clark, Messi, LeBron, or even Tiger Woods, and then sit back and watch. And if you go to prizepicks.com right now and use promo code SAS, you'll receive a 100% deposit bonus up to $100. You heard me. Go to prizepicks.com. Type in my initials SAS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy. Now, let's look at my winning picks. Today, I'm picking from the NBA All-Star Game this weekend and who will have more or less than their projected points. So check it out. Let's get started right now. Donovan Mitchell, 17.5 points. I got this brother as an MVP candidate. I got this brother as my starter in All-Star Weekend. That's the who I picked. You understand what I'm saying? Because when everybody was talking about Halliburton and Jalen Brunson, I was talking about Donovan Mitchell averaging 28 a game. I'm talking about Cleveland being the number 2 seed in the East. I'm talking about that brother playing the way that brother's been playing. Donovan Mitchell, it's a coming out party for him, even though he's not a first-time All-Star. Being in this All-Star game in the Eastern Conference, 17.5 points, I'm going with more. More. He will score more than 17.5 points. Listen, they ain't playing no damn defense anyway. And you know somebody like him is going to shoot. He ain't going to hesitate to shoot. So I say more. Let's go to the next one. Mr. Box Office himself, the one and only Anthony Edwards for the Minnesota Timberwolves. 17.5 points. Again, I say more, especially for him, because this brother got that kind of attitude where he always wants to be the star. He always wants to be the brightest star. He ain't trying to be deferential to anybody, especially playing for a team that's just become relevant, as is the Minnesota Timberwolves. And so because of that reality, I'm telling you, this is a coming out party for him too. This is a Skywalker. This is a brother that makes a habit of spectacular dunks. And the more it's on people, actually, the better. The more facials, the better. I see this brother getting thrown a few alley-oops in his direction. By default, this brother's going to score more than 17.5 points. Let's go to the greatest shooter God has ever created. That would be Stephen Curry. 20.5 points. We know what Steph Curry does. We know how many opportunities he'll get to shoot three-point shots. We know what he does. 20.5 points is nothing. He might have that in the first half. Of course, the answer is more. Check this out. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the Oklahoma City Thunder. A surprise team this year. We knew they were going to be better. We didn't know they were going to be as good as they had been. Chet Holmgren's been balling for them. Jalen Williams is no joke. We see some of the pieces that they have in place. No doubt about it. I would tell you this, though. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, even though he's a scoring machine, somebody that scored over 30 points at least 39 times this season, 16.5 points, I'm going to go with less, not more, less. Because I don't think he's the kind of dude, the smoothness to his game, the way that he plays, but it's devoid of the spectacular to some degree anyway. I don't see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going out there and being aggressive offensively, looking for his points. I don't think he cares. I think it's one of those situations where he doesn't look at it that way, and he's just going to distribute the basketball, take a few shots here and there, and he ain't going to be about that life. I think he's going to score less than 16.5 points. So we got Donovan Mitchell at more. We've got Anthony Edwards at more. We got Stephen Curry at more. And we got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at less. This is Stephen A. Smith signing off. Live from NBA All-Star Weekend. Until next time. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here with the digital airwaves of YouTube. Before I get to my next guest, I got to say this about the great Caitlin Clark, because she is phenomenal. Walked into last night's game against Michigan, needing 8 points to become the all-time leading scorer in women's college hoops, okay? She scored the first 8 points of the game. Got the record that's right there. And finished with 49. So not only did she get the 8, then she dropped an additional 41 on the University of Michigan. Clearly, this isn't college football. This is college basketball. And women's college basketball is and she is the truth. Make no mistake about it. Caitlin Clark is something special. And I think the thing that needs to be said about her is that she's the biggest star in women's hoops, period, right now. I don't think there's anybody in the WNBA more popular than her. So the real question should be, what do we think she's going to do for women's basketball overall? It's a worthy subject, particularly as we're here in Indianapolis for NBA All-Star Weekend, and it's the perfect opportunity to get to my next guest, who's with me right now. He's got his own YouTube, he's got his own podcast. He's big time when it comes to the sport of basketball. I know I got a lot of love for him. The one and only Kenny Beecham. It's good to see you in person, my man.
Finally.
How you doing, my brother? How's
I'm doing great.
How long was that ride from Chicago?
2.5 hours.
Just 2.5?
We got a personal drive. It was cool.
Even with the snow coming down?
No snow on the way here.
No snow.
It just started, and It is what it is.
I got you. You heard what I said about Caitlin Clark. I know you usually talking NBA, basketball, whatever, but we know you know hoops.
Yes.
When you saw what this woman did last night, when you see what she's done overall in her collegiate career, and you scan the WNBA and fantasize about what she may be able to do, what thoughts come to your mind?
I think she could take it to the next level. The W has been doing a great job of marketing their players, I think, as of recently, but I think Caitlin Clark is the next thing for that. We talk about all the social media hits, I mean, viral everywhere. She's the next person to do that for the league, and I think it's going to be great.
How'd you feel about, hearing Cheryl Swoops, the great Cheryl Swoops, Hall of Famer, coming out, talking about, you know what, I don't think she's going to be as good as people think. We always have Hall of Famers, people who preceded the next generation that speak about what level these folks are on compared to what level they were on or whatever. What did you make of what Swoops said?
Of course, we got to respect her as one of the greatest to ever do it, but I think Caitlin's on a different level. And I think anytime something like that happens when we have an all-time great, saying like maybe not just yet, time will tell. Caitlin's going to get there soon. Right. And we're going to see if she's really about that. And I personally think that all of that is real.
I think that she's the great, I call her the female Steph Curry. She's that special. But Steph Curry, we here at All-Star Weekend right here in Indianapolis, and Steph Curry's about to go up against Sabrina Ionescu. What are your thoughts about that competition?
I'm excited about that. I mean, last year we saw her break all of the records possible when the three-point shooting contest.
She can beat him now.
She definitely can. Right. I don't know. He's the greatest shooter I've ever seen. Right. Sabrina just did some amazing stuff. I think it's going to be close. I'll give the nonsense to Steph, though.
So am I. Yeah. I mean, we're not trying to be, we're not engaging in any gender bias.
Oh, no, not at all.
We thought he'd lose, we'd say so.
For sure.
But I can't see anybody, even though Clay did beat him once.
Yes. But Steph is like one of those people that when he got the adequate competition, and she basically called him out for it, right. I think he's going to bring his A game.
I got you. She did call him out.
She did. I know. Greatest shooter ever.
Had he done that, he would have been insulted. They would have been questioning his man. But she could say what she could say, and she gets away with it.
Yeah. And I actually like that she was I felt confident enough to say, like, we know he's the greatest shooter that the world has seen, but I know I'm that girl. And I want to see that.
Okay. I ain't mad at her. I ain't mad at her. Let's switch to the NBA, man, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about here at All-Star Weekend. First order of business, we saw Klay Thompson. I was speaking about this earlier. He exploded on Thursday night, dropped 35 and 3/4. Utah lost to Golden State 140-137. He had 20 points in the fourth quarter. In terms of stats, with about a minimum of 500 attempts, I think he's the worst clutch shooter in the game today at about 27%. But Klay is still Klay. He's still one of the all-time great shooters we've ever seen in NBA history. What do you make of what you saw from him just the other night? What do you make of what you've seen from him this season?
It's been interesting because maybe a month or two ago, he had his comments about when he first got set in the fourth quarter, and he wasn't really comfortable about it. But the last week or so, he's kind of opened up to the idea. He mentioned that Ray Allen wasn't the same player the last couple years of his career as he's tried to take a step back because he wasn't doing the same stuff he was doing in Milwaukee or in Seattle. And we kind of see the lifespan of a shooter with Reggie Miller eventually adjusting. And Klay's like, I think I'm willing to do that. Now, I was surprised to see him come off the bench yesterday, but happy to see that he dropped 30-plus points in that. So, I think that because of how good Klay Thompson is, the idea of Klay Thompson, even if he's not having his best year, he's going to be respected across the league as far as coaching go. He's going to keep the game open and space for them. And then the rookie, Brandon Podziemski, is having amazing night after amazing night. It makes sense. And even Steve Kerr said after last night's game that don't look for Klay Thompson to start lineup for the foreseeable future. And I think that's just interesting. And I don't think you make that decision to Steve Kerr unless you get the thumbs up from Steph, unless you get the thumbs up.
How surprised have you been by Podziemski? I didn't expect him to be this.
I didn't either. Because when I started to watch college basketball, it's the NCAA tournament. Okay. His team wasn't there last year.
That's right.
So I didn't know anything about him other than he went to Illinois, shout out to Chicago and everything, but then transferred away from that. So I came in completely blind. I had no idea he was going to be this polished as a rookie. And we're kind of seeing a few guys across the league that come in like that. And it's kind of cool. Like we think about the star players like the Wembys and the Chets and how they can impact the game as an all-star, but we don't really think about like the people that come in as role players. And he's been able to do that on a dynasty team.
One of the things I do like about Kerr, going back to Klay Thompson for a quick second, the one thing I love about him coming off the bench is that they're testing him. You want a new contract? We couldn't reach an accord.
Yep.
Obviously, people were speculating that he was lamenting a little bit how they couldn't reach an accord, and it was affecting his play because his confidence had been compromised, et cetera, et cetera. We heard about LeBron and Steph and how the Golden State Warriors reached out to the Lakers to try to make that happen before the trading deadline expired. And there's no way on earth that you're trading for LeBron James and you wasn't giving up Klay at the very least, if not more. So we take all of those things into consideration. But I think this move by the Warriors is their way of saying, let's investigate whether or not you can really play this role effectively for us. Because if you can, we might want to keep you.
Yeah.
Your thoughts about that?
I think that this is what we saw at the deadline with them doing nothing made me think that this is like somewhat of a gap year. Like they've been playing decent basketball recently, other than the game that they blew against the Clippers a couple nights ago. But I believe that this is going to be one of the most interesting off seasons in all of basketball because of the Klay Thompson situation. And we're going to see, because I also think that some of the teams that have money, like the 76ers who have up to $60+ million in cap, or the Detroit Pistons who are trying to find their way, they're going to call Klay Thompson because he is Klay Thompson. Whether he's the all-star that we saw from 3 years ago or this version, he's going to warrant some money. So it's the Warriors like, okay, we know that these other teams have some money to potentially give you, but we love you here in the Bay. We can maybe make some other adjustments around you, but maybe the next part of your career is coming off the bench and playing a smaller role while we kind of introduce some of these younger people.
We know as we sit here during NBA All-Star Weekend that there's always people who are not here that belonged here. And some people that may be here that didn't belong here ahead of those that were snubbed. When you look at the East and the West All-Star roster, who stands out in your mind on each squad as somebody, as not having somebody that should be here?
Domantas Sabonis should be here in Indianapolis with us.
More so than De'Aaron Fox?
I think De'Aaron Fox's last 2 months, he had the shoulder injury, and because of that, his jump shooting has dropped down to like sub 30% from three-point range. In the first 2 months of the season, he was electric there. I think what Sabonis has done over the last 2 months is keep them afloat, and you can't convince me that he shouldn't be here. I mean, the NBA ladder itself says he's the sixth in MVP.
I'm not saying he should be here.
Yeah.
But ain't no way in hell you sent him before De'Aaron Fox.
No, as far as the entertainment factor,
27 a game. I mean,
100%. I feel that. But I feel like if you talk to any Sacramento Kings fan, they say Sabonis has been our best player this year. And because of that, he deserves to be here.
Well, he's been the most consistent.
For sure.
I don't think he was the best player on the court for them when De'Aaron Fox was on the court healthy.
Well,
when he was on the court healthy, now, come on, Kenny. Come on, Kenny.
I don't know.
Come on, Kenny.
He's averaging 20+, leading the league in rebounding, 8 assists. Just being as consistent as anybody in basketball. Obviously, the defense is something that you question.
Always.
But
Always.
I think that the stats are the stats, and I can't look past that.
Okay, what about the Eastern Conference?
Eastern Conference, because we had the injury replacements of Joel Embiid and Julius Randle, I thought they did a decent job. The only person I would like to see here is Jared Allen again, because the Cavs went on this crazy run, 18 wins in 19 games, and he's been playing all defensive caliber defense. And then a lot of people just see J.A. and think he's a lob threat. He's been putting the ball on the floor a little bit, getting a little post touches, so I like that, but I don't know who you take off to get him there.
Let's stay on the subject of All-Star Weekend. I have been down on this weekend for quite some time. I love the NBA. Obviously, I've been covering it for over a quarter century. Looking at guys like yourself want to come up doing great work.
Appreciate
I love
that.
it. I appreciate it. I'm wondering, however, if you can truly appreciate, because you are a young whippersnapper. You know what I'm saying? I'm old fogey. I mean, I'm wondering if you can truly appreciate how much the slam dunk contest has been virtually destroyed. When you consider that LeBron James never, because I blame him, by the way, he never ever once participated in the slam dunk contest. Every superstar that played above the rim, you can go from the Connie Hawkins to the David Thompsons to the Julius Irvins to the Dominique Wilkins and Michael Jordans of the world to the Kobe Bryants of the world, of course T-Mac and Trace and Vince Carter.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it all stopped because LeBron James did not want to participate in the slam dunk contest. I'm wondering how you feel about it. And do you disagree with my assertion that he ruined the slam dunk contest because he made it a non-priority for superstar athletic players to want to participate in the slam dunk contest?
Yeah, as far as me covering the sport, I guess it hasn't been great. I think this is the first year in the last 6 that we've had an all-star, and it's Jaylen Brown. No disrespect to Jaylen Brown, he's great.
I appreciate him for participating.
Exactly, but other than that, we haven't really seen it. I mean, last year they lucked out by having Mac McClung, because without Mac McClung,
a G Leaguer.
it would have been as
G
bad
Leaguer.
as possible. And he's back this year.
And he's back this year, but a G Leaguer saved the slam dunk contest.
Yeah, it's not exactly what you want. I guess I missed the the part maybe a little bit before my time with Bron, where he decided that he wasn't gonna do it. But Bron is the most influential person in basketball, right? What Bron is doing off the court, on the court,
which means that he influenced it negatively, but
I
because
can
his
see
lack
it.
of participation discouraged others from participating.
I can see it. So I would, of course, we all would want it to happen. We just gotta hope that Mac McClung or Jaylen Brown puts on a show tonight. But no matter what, even if they do, it won't hit as good as if we had Vince here, or when we had Vince, or when we had Cole, or anything like that.
I got to tell you, a couple of years ago, they had All-Star Week. And I don't recall myself ever being this furious in my life when they had Cole Anthony with Timberlands on.
That's Cleveland, right? Yeah,
And
we're
they
in
had
Cleveland.
Cole Anthony with Timberlands on. They had these guys missing one dunk after another.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was horrible.
It was
horrible.
yeah.
So at that moment in time, I said, and then after the G Leaguer, McClung comes on board last year, and he wins the slam dunk title. I said, you know something? I dare anybody to tell me this is a bad idea. You could go and have a regional contest, city to city, in the park, any park in America. You understand what I'm saying? Where you see some of the top dunkers.
Yeah.
Okay, you offer prize money for $1 million. I mean, think about it. Let's call it what it is. We got cats out here doing the wrong things for a hell of a lot less.
Yeah.
A winning prize of $1 million, a consolation prize of $500,000, and a third place prize of $100,000. Okay, for the top three. All right, finishes. I'm like, have this contest, get the brothers in out there in the parks, right America, find your top 10, and bring them to All-Star Weekend.
It'd be better than what we got.
And have the players, you participate by picking which one you want to endorse.
Wow.
So if you're LeBron, if you're Steph, if you're this, you're that, you sit up there, you give them a little film, watch these brothers, we pick who you're going to sponsor.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
And that way, you have this content. It could be nationwide. It will gravitate everybody for the NBA, have them looking forward to All-Star Weekend, okay, wherever it's going to be at. And for once, it's going to be at a decent, even though I don't consider San Francisco that great next year. But I'm just saying, it's going to be there, and we could go from there. What do you think about that idea?
I love the idea because I think the biggest reason why the people the top players don't want to be in it, they don't want to be embarrassed. Like you see Cole Anthony do that dunk. He thought it was amazing, but the rest of the crowd's like, that's not it. You don't want to see that.
Why you got on Timberlands for?
Exactly.
What's about Timberlands?
So Bron, he don't have to participate. He can just be the endorsement factor. I really do like that idea because there's nothing better on Instagram than a crazy dunk. And there's a lot of like non-professional basketball players that can get it done.
Right.
So I like that idea. Something similar happened in Chicago a few months ago that I was a part of, but it was just Chicago. It was Chicago-based hoopers, and I was impressed by just Chicago.
No
So
doubt.
imagine if we open it up.
No doubt. You know they got them brothers in Chicago.
For sure.
L.A., New York. I mean, all
it
over.
going,
the place.
yeah.
Don't get me started with them country boys
Yeah.
taking care of their legs, eating steak and potatoes for breakfast. I mean, who knows how screwed up? I mean, you never know where the potential lies. But let's stick with this, all right? Because I'm looking at that. What can we do to fix the All-Star game?
I
Not the
think
slam dunk contest.
it's tough, man. It's tough. I think the overall incentive just isn't enough for the players. Again, player empowerment, shout out to it. It's cool and all, but this is one of the events like they don't want to pull up in Indianapolis on a Sunday and go crazy. You know, I think the best year, at least as covering, I'm gonna keep doing that until it's official.
That fourth quarter of the All-Star Weekend a few years
in
ago.
Chicago.
Competing.
In Chicago, that was the best we've seen. That was the first year of the Elim ending, where it's like we need 24 points, and then it ended perfectly. And then last year was the worst I've ever experienced.
Right.
Where, of course, we had Steph Curry sitting out. We had Bron only play a minute. Giannis only played a minute. So that carries it to an extent, but it just wasn't really it. And I think what we could do to make it better is incentivize it more, because it won't ever be good unless we convince the players to really care about it. I don't know if that incentive is dollar amount. I know they've trickled in some charity work. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know exactly what it is, but we need it so that Bron really cares about performing tomorrow or in a couple days in Indianapolis, and I just don't know.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Before I let you get on out of here, just a few more questions. What the hell is going on in Milwaukee? I just finished talking about that a little while ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on. Doc Rivers is 3-7 as the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
They have looked better defensively.
They have.
looked better defensively, but they ain't winning.
Yeah.
And Chris Middleton's a problem. He ain't what he used to be. Drew Holiday is no longer there, so you're not getting that defensive tenacity from the backcourt spot. Damian Lillard, you know he's an all-star. He's gonna be here. He's gonna tear. He's gonna put it on, but he hasn't been what we've grown accustomed to seeing Dame Dollar be. And Giannis is conspicuously quiet since Doc Rivers has arrived. And he's just letting it flow, even though he's still putting up numbers. Your thoughts about the Milwaukee Bucks?
Last night, I watched him play against the Jazz. I'm sorry, watched Grizzlies.
Yes.
And watched the 19-year-old Gigi Jackson walk past his defender 100 times. I'm like, something's not right. The defense is better, but it's not as good as you need it to be if you want to win that championship. The offense, when they was with Adrian Griffin, is like the third best in the league. It was cool, and that was carrying them to the 30-13 record before Adrian. That offense is not carried over in the 10 games of Doc Rivers. A lot of that is Dame shooting less than 30% from three on his high volume. A lot of that is Chris Middleton not playing because the numbers say that when Chris Middleton, Giannis, Dame, and Brook Lopez on the court together, that's like the best lineup in the league.
Right.
But if you can't keep Chris healthy, and we're talking about April, May, and June, that's when it matters the most. We just talked to Kendrick Perkins a little while ago, and we asked him, of course, as a guy that played under Doc and has been through a 14-year NBA career, what is it like to see that coaching change in the middle of the season? He said it's hard, and it might take some time. And Kendrick predicted, as with all his knowledge, that after the All-Star break, it'll look better. I don't know if I have that same optimism because I think about them going into a series against Boston. And though they will have the best player in that series in Giannis, JT is playing amazing.
I don't know if they would have the best player. I don't know about that. As great as Giannis is, when are we going to give Jason Tatum some love?
Tatum deserves all the love.
Can he be? Does Jason Tatum not deserve to be considered a top candidate for league MVP honors?
He should.
Best team, best record.
Best team, best record, and still 28 a night. Like he's doing that.
28 a night.
But he's not better than Giannis.
Well, I'm not saying. Well, listen, you can put it that way because Giannis is dominant. But you know what? I can't just take for granted if I send Jason Tatum to the free throw line.
Yeah.
I can do that to Giannis. I can't just take for granted that I'm gonna give Jason Tatum a jump shot, but I can do that to Giannis. Now Giannis is 6'11". He's a thoroughbred. He's a greyhound. He can attack the basket with fervor better than anybody in the game. But there are offensive deficiencies to Giannis, which is why I can make an argument about Tatum.
Yeah. But I see them go to that finals against the Phoenix Suns when they needed the most. He shot 16 of 17 from the free throw line.
Yeah, that's true.
50-point game.
We ain't seen it since. That's like bringing up the fact that I made 17 straight three-pointers when I was trying out for Winston-Salem State. I ain't do the shit since.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. I ain't do it since. That don't
it's been a minute. You're right.
All right, we ain't seen Giannis do that ever since. And oh, by the way, don't get me started. He was playing against DeAndre Ayton.
He was. And
okay.
Aiden is a whole other story.
I mean, please,
it's a whole other story.
He's in Portland using snow blowers to get out of his driveway and stuff just to get to games.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, again, Phoenix was undersized. Frank Kaminsky was the back. I mean, even he got hurt. So we can't go by that. You got to look at the circumstances and what about Giannis.
I do trust Giannis. Big lights, big stage. I'm going to ignore the fact they lost to the 8th seed last year. Let's go past that. But every other scenario, we've seen him rise to the occasion. Same thing with Tatum, too. I mean, Tatum had 51 in the Game 7 against the 76ers a few years, or last year.
Well, last year he got hurt.
He did. He did get hurt. But I'm still thinking Giannis is the best in that series.
Do you still feel Boston is the team to beat even if they're going to jack up 44 threes a game?
I do not like that they're dead last in paint attempts. It's never been a recipe to win a championship. It never has. And if it was going to happen, it would be this year just because the league is just evolving to the point where the three-point shot is superior to everything. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty, you in the NBA Finals series, sometimes those shots ain't going to fall. So what do you do then? Yeah. And the Celtics haven't been able to figure that out just yet.
My personal opinion is I think there's a difference between Ime Udoka and obviously Mazzulla. I just do. Now, I'm not saying that Mazzulla can't coach, but he ain't no Ime Udoka. My New York Knicks.
It's kind of rough in the moment, but like big picture.
I'm not concerned.
You shouldn't be.
You know why? Because if they were healthy, Tom Thibodeau would be running them into the ground. They wouldn't have anything left come playoff time. But because he don't know how to act, you understand? Them being hurt works for me.
Yeah.
As long as they get back in time to work off the rust and they're ready for the postseason.
And they should. OG's injury happened perfect time. He got this whole week to chill, no basketball games. I'm excited about the Knicks, man. I ain't never been able to say that in my lifetime.
That's right. I don't think Miami nor Cleveland beats the Knicks this year.
I'm not mad at that.
All right?
I'm not mad at that.
Jaime Jaquez is better than I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was that damn good. Lakers?
I got no comment about the Lakers.
Why not?
No trade at the trade deadline. They've been looking better.
They don't have any assets.
That was my thing. They don't have any assets, and obviously nobody else was making moves either. So it's like, are we going to overpay for Murray? If he makes us 3% better, we can wait to the offseason. We have 3 first-round picks. As long as Braun is cool, I'm cool if I'm the Lakers. But we don't know if Braun is cool. He had the Knicks towel on. He had the Knicks warm up walking into the arena.
I wouldn't mind seeing LeBron come in New York.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I don't think I've ever forgiven him for leaving Miami to go to Cleveland. I never recovered until he went to L.A., and then I somewhat forgave him. But now, the thought of him going to New York City would definitely appease me, even though I know that it's not going to happen in all likelihood. Who's the team to beat out West? Is it still Denver?
I'm still giving Denver the nod, even though lately it hasn't looked pretty. But they did go through this around January last year where they lost like 5 straight, and people were like, what's going on? And then we got to the playoffs, and they were the best team easily. So I'm still giving them the nod. But other than that, the Clippers are my 2.
Well, I'm worried about Zubac and Plumlee and what they'll be able to do against Jokic. And obviously, when Jamal Murray's in the lineup with Jokic, they're like 28-11. They're a 500 team when one or the other is out of the lineup. So I got to keep my eyes on that. I'm also keeping my eye on the Minnesota Timberwolves.
You like them?
I love Anthony Edwards.
For sure.
The combination of Karl Anthony Towns with Rudy Gobert gives you something defensively. But I think Anthony Edwards is the kind of dude that has infused something culturally into the Minnesota Timberwolves, where they ain't gonna bow out as easily as they did last year.
I like that.
What's your thoughts about that?
The thing that scares me a little bit about them is that we do have a lot of fourth quarters where their offense get very dry. And I think about a playoff series, you can't have that happen more than once in a series. And that thing that scares me a little bit.
I got you.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what you're doing, man, because you're doing a lot of things, man.
Yeah, so just became a part of the family, the ESPN family. Podcast is now with Omaha Productions, which is pretty cool. I also have my own show that we've been trying to grow up with, inspired by, of course, you when I came on your show a little while ago. So we appreciate that. But, I'm just out here trying to make a living. Trying to make a living.
You got over 1 million followers, man.
Yeah.
You're making money, man. I mean, you remember, I just waited all of these years. I just got into the YouTube space. So I'm starting to see why you
see
were
where the
there all
money
of
at?
these years.
Yeah.
Bad job to have.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. But I'm trying to not transition away from YouTube because it's my baby. I'll never leave it. But also try to get to the main stage.
Right.
When I was a kid, I used to mute the TV and try to live commentate the games. Now, I don't want to be a commentator, but I want to talk about sports on the highest level possible. And being here right now is part of that.
Will be. Being here as a part of it. I'm going to have you on First Take, too, so stick around. I want to know you, Kenny Beecham, right here with Stephen A. Up next, got a bunch of tweets to get to from y'all, to show y'all about, before I get on out of here for NBA All-Star Weekend, because obviously I got things to do. So I'll be back in a minute to read y'all some of these crazy-ass tweets I've been getting before I get on out of here. My man Kenny Beecham, big-time basketball mind. Watch him, listen to him, learn from the young brother, okay? Stephen A. Smith will be back with more in a minute. Everyone knows I'm a sports fanatic, and I need to be in the middle of all the action. And how do I do that exactly? I use Prize Picks, the largest fantasy sports platform in all of the land with more than 3 million members. It's not only super exciting, but incredibly easy to play and takes only 60 seconds to make your picks. All you do is select 2 or more players from the NFL, the NBA, or even both, and then choose more or less on their in-game stats. So every catch, touchdown, or basket gets bigger every week. And there's no better way to turn the big game's energy into cash. So if you know everything about every player, like I do, and then pick correctly, you'll have a chance to win some big-time money. And get this, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. That's right. Go to prizepicks.com and use code SAS for a first deposit match of up to $100. That's code SAS when you go to prizepicks.com. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. Before I get on out of here, obviously I'm going to get to the tweets before the show ends, but I wanted to touch on a different subject because it's a subject that I find to be sensitive to a lot of people in our community. If you don't know about DEI, let me remind you what it stands for. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are organizational frameworks that seek to promote the fair treatment and full participation of all people, particularly groups who have historically been underrepresented or subject to discrimination based on identity or disability. I'm bringing this up because this morning, Friday morning, there was an article in Newsweek magazine. It was written by a Miss Kira Davis, K-I-R-A. If I pronounced her name wrong, Ms. Davis, I apologize. Kira Davis is the author of, quote, Drawing Lines, Why Conservatives Must Begin to Battle Fiercely in the Arena of Ideas. She has a problem with Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis, and she's blaming it on DEI hiring. Now, if you don't know, Georgia's District Attorney, Fani Willis, if you don't know anything about her, she's the woman overseeing the Georgia case where former President Donald Trump has been charged with 13 criminal counts attempting to overturn the 2020 election results. Remember that? Well, that Fani Willis recently took the stand in her own defense this week. Why? Because she hired Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, who, by the way, she was having an affair with. Okay, she was dating him. She allegedly overpaid Wade to the tune of $650,000. As a result, Trump's attorneys are trying to have Willis, Wade, and the entire case against them dismissed. Now pause the screen right there, please. Stay right there, y'all. I want you to listen to this. Before I get into this any further, let's get this out the way. What would an affair have to do with a 2020 election case? Probably nothing. So what's the big picture here? The big picture here is that if Trump and his team is successful in getting them removed and somebody new has to get on the case, that takes time. Because of the delays, it buys more time for him to ultimately get to the presidency. And if he wins the presidential election and becomes president of the United States again, these are cases he can dismiss because you're not going to indict a sitting president. But I digress because I need to get back to a more important point that I want to make, which is the issue of DEI. Why is DEI under attack here? In Kira Davis's opinion, she wrote, quote, listen to this. As a Black woman and a working professional, I've never been a huge fan of affirmative action. The recent rise of critical race theory and diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives has only bolstered my resistance. She continues, while it may seem necessary to some in order to right the wrongs of the past, I can sum up why these measures are an unmitigated disaster for hardworking Black Americans in 2 words. Fani Willis. That's what she said. This woman should be ashamed of herself. Because no matter what Fani Willis may have done wrong, it has absolutely nothing to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. It has absolutely nothing to do with DEI. The office that she has, no one is disputing that she's qualified for it. You may not like her and her personal choices, having a relationship with a contemporary. I get that part. But to sit up there and to say it's DEI, it's a DEI issue, just because she's in her position is utterly ridiculous. Because when you bring that into the equation, you're questioning her qualifications for her job. Just like somebody could easily question your qualifications for your job at Newsweek, assuming you work there, as opposed to freelancing or just writing an editorial that they published. What the hell is that about? We've got to guard against this kind of stuff. We've got to monitor our stuff because here's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. When we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, you're talking about equal opportunities. That's what you're ultimately in pursuit of. You're not talking about giving somebody anything other than an opportunity. Let them sit in front of your face. Let them show you their qualifications. Give them an opportunity to put their resumes in front of you, their qualifications in front of you, and you make a fair, neutral judgment on their qualifications as opposed to making the wrong assumptions. Kira Davis, respectfully, Fani Willis isn't the problem here, it's you. Because you're making the assumption that whatever transgression she may have committed, or whatever problem she may have created, or whatever roadblocks or impediments she may have presented for her own self, particularly in this case against the present ex-president, you're acting as if her qualifications are being brought into question, when the only thing being brought into the question is whether or not they should be overseeing this case against the president because of whatever transgressions they may have committed on a personal level with what would be deemed by some to be an inappropriate relationship. Never mind whether or not the White House was influencing them in any way. One has nothing to do with DEI. But that's where you took it, Ms. Davis. By the way, a Black woman accusing Fani Willis of not being polished and classy and not being able to remain even keeled while responding to an uncomfortable barrage of questions on the witness stand. So she had an attitude. She didn't like being barraged with questions the way that she was. And so that attitude came out in her. And because of that, that compromises her qualifications? It makes no sense, Ms. Davis. It makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. You need to stop. Kerry Davis also states that Fannie Willis's foul demeanor and childish expressions only serve to magnify the grotesque consequences diversity hiring has for black women, black America in general. So in other words, what you're saying, Miss Davis, is that a black woman with an attitude, one black woman with an attitude, cast aspersions on a black race, which you are a part of. You ain't never had any attitude? You ain't never cursed anybody out? You never did anything, huh? Nothing at all. Stop. Not only are you embarrassing yourself, you're disrespecting our community by implying such things based on such frivolous evidence. There's plenty of white people with attitude, and they convey that in very demonstrative and bombastic ways at times. I didn't hear you talking about them. I could say something far more fierce, but I won't. I'll just respectfully ask you to stop castigating a community because of one person who, by the way, I'm reminding you, his qualifications are not in question here. Not ever. Just whether or not she should be on this case. Time to get to the tweets before I get on out of here, y'all. Indiana, let's get right to it. At W from D-Ball writes, is cereal a soup? And is a hot dog a sandwich? No. Cereal is not a soup. It's cereal, okay? Usually soup is hot. It's not cold. Cereal can be cold. That's how I view it, okay? And you ain't sipping on soup. You ain't sipping on cereal. You're sipping on soup, but not cereal, okay? So that's how I roll with it. I don't sip on Crunch Berries. I munch on them. Sip on honeycombs, sugar pie. I munch on them, okay? I sip with my chicken noodle soup, with my vegetable soup, okay? No, it's not a soup. And by the way, not only is that not a soup, but a hot dog being a sandwich, I mean, I know it's meat in between the bread, so technically, theoretically, it can be a sandwich, but I've never heard anybody refer to a hot dog as a sandwich. I'm going to stick with what a sandwich really is, a turkey sandwich, a chicken sandwich, that kind of thing. That's how I feel about it personally. I'm sorry. I'm not rolling with you on that one. Next question. At Cantaloupe _FF. A genie will grant you 3 wishes. What are they? First wish is perfect health for me and everyone I love. Second, I would say happiness, because that comes in a variety of forms, but I would certainly want it to include a lot of money, along with a fine-ass woman, which I believe I have. And on top of it all, just a marvelous, marvelous all-around life. And the third wish that I would have, I could piggyback off of number 1 when I talk about health, but I would also say, you know what? I'm 56. I want to continue to feel like I'm in my 30s or late 20s. I actually felt that way last night until I twisted my damn ankle. That's just me. I hope that answers the question. At Greg, 667-693-5420. You're a burglar, Stephen A., but you only steal things to slightly inconvenience your victims. What are you stealing? Okay. If I'm going to steal something, what would slightly inconvenience my victims is stealing their car, stealing their food, stealing their money. I mean, if you take somebody's money, you're inconveniencing them. You steal their car, you're inconveniencing them. You're stealing their food. You're pissing them off, especially if they're hungry. That's how it is. Next one. At McDelagold. At McDelagold. Stephen A., are you a forward or backward toilet paper when you load up a new roll of toilet paper? Picture for reference. Okay, which one's the forward and which one's the backward? If you're talking about the under, and that's forward, and the over is backward, then I would go with the under. Here's the reason why. When you're doing over, right, there's some nasty ass people that, I'm not talking about myself, but when there's some nasty ass people out there and they doing the over with the toilet paper, you might get a stain or two on the toilet paper. Because as you wipe your ass once or twice, you understand what I'm saying? You might get something on your hands. You never know. Again, I'm not talking about myself. But other people, they might do something like that, right? And that's kind of nasty, okay? But when it's the under, you're just pulling the under and you're not really touching the other stuff, okay? Until it's time to dig up your ass. So because of that, I'm telling you, you go with the under. The under works better. It's more hygienic, per se. Last tweet. Let's go to that right now, please. Let's see what this is. At Adam Schefter. Oh, Lord. Injury update after a trip to the hospital. Stephen A. Smith is in an ankle brace for an injury he suffered practicing against Micah Parsons for the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game. Smith will, however, coach tonight's game. Definitely, he texted. Well, factually, Adam Schefter is absolutely correct. He did text me. I texted him back. Definitely, that did happen. But I wasn't practicing against Micah Parsons. I was just shooting some jump shots. I'm not playing. I was just shooting around. And it was a wet spot on the floor, and I slipped and busted my ass because I was wearing red bottom sneakers, okay? And that's what happened. And by the way, I have a confession to make. It was the same pair of sneakers I was wearing when I was on the mound at Yankee Stadium throwing out the first pitch. Remember, I told y'all, I did not want to bust my ass on national television, and that's why I was protective of my footing when I was on that mound. I didn't think I would be shooting around yesterday at all, so I thought it was okay to wear those sneakers. I have to learn my lesson. Michael Jordan cussed me out. You know what he did? He cussed me out, y'all. And he was so pissed at me. He sent me some sneakers, okay? I'm talking about even sneakers that ain't out yet. Look at these sneakers right here. Y'all ain't seen them yet. It ain't out yet. It ain't coming out for another few months. But Michael Jordan sent me a pair. The Jordan brand. That's love right there, y'all. That's love. Well, damn it, or it could be these. How many of y'all got these? So I bust my ass, okay? I embarrassed myself because, damn it, I had on red bottom sneakers. And the Jordan brand sent me both of these sneakers. Both. Even when I mess up, I don't. Because I'm Stephen A., baby. I'm Stephen A. I'm getting on out of here for NBA All-Star Weekend. Talk to y'all later. Peace.